Abusia me makrankra bi akwaba e de ba Maame Grace stake no so maka jo sese me wo honko dia questions ne de mefa na meyi ni nyina no nti when you watch the shows no me pa wo show no ko awieye wo show ni ko awieye a afa na wo be hu asema me kan no from na hyase e de kosi na awieye wonya hu ni sa afa you are able to ask questions no matter how bad the question is eye wo na wonte ase nti na we bisa. Feel free and do so. And America no, so we show no na we okay with it, you stick with it and watch. They resonating with you, no wafa. We show now for said the Ayaka Wahano doesn't make sense to you. You can actually exit. Like a new mandatory say by force, yeah then share. We show no so we need executioners. Like I always say, no, ye pencroform obeka and say what can say and ye say name me ye saying. So won't be answer so out to me bisa say ye saying na me person me te ase and na ye pick questions in the ye no ye way together. Who show no platform no so show ni we na for say who so much I want to mean chiro person we address here platform no so free. You just have to call or text 0244860092 na wa back say Maame Grace who can say me feel say that's how we learn together. If we want to grow, every little bit of information must be important to us. And no nebema yetimi enyini akoyenim. And then me pick one question from the death keys of Maame Grace. Episode. And then me pick one question from the death keys of Maame Grace. I answer a lot of questions from that episode, no. But there's one question mean to me be answer. I think say I left it behind. Now it's so important, you know. Na nya ade a metumi ignore nti na no so esemefa na maybe answer because me who say no so was similar questions no so na nipa person omote ase nti sa question na maybe answer but ubeka said there ye beka na nda no bo ne tofa to ni din a obetumi aka say the parable of the trapped son. The parable of the trapped son. Now we no the question na me yi ano enti no me fa na tintin bia enti me meaning of the parable of the trapped son meka parable achrew na wahwe wadwene na afi ya hwe na afi ye wi na ya ba behwe scripture bi e wo Bible mu John 3:16 about incarnation and also na ya hwe se wote sa niam we ase a sebe o ma wadwene mu nya obasa afi wo beba bete ase se dia atwede ewa na esu ni ba bi ebetumi lead wakobia no se mfimfini bu a atwede ni nyina be useless. Na meka say wie no wobete ase de enti a DNA no ne sign na nkasa mpote se atwede na afi wobete ase se meka say woye me ancestors na wo ancestors so ye wo a eno nso so wobetimi ate ase enti no mama wakwa ababiom e de aba Maame Grace stake afi mama ye nhwe question na ende ye fa na ye yi anre ye ni aba akua fin THQ ono ne question ende no ye fa na ye yi ano. Now, I say, Maame Grace, I have a question. Please, if I'm supposed to awaken and liberate my ancestors, does this mean my ancestors didn't get a chance to reincarnate and their souls are trapped? This is a queer thing. THQ. I don't know. Question a queer ebisa yeni. This question is important, very, very important. Because we hear every day say me kofre me nana saman me kofre we me koyese nti ye nkra ye ni omo no connection ben na wo ye ntam after omo ewu afiri ha no makọ na ye wate asefo asase so in fact ye nananom de omo ascende ye no connection ben na wo ye ni omo ntam na omo aye trapped no so no connection ben na ewo ye ni omunta. In fact wo a wote ase e wasase so wo na wo beto ne wo na wa beto no dia wa ascend ne ne wa ye trapped no wo abrabo a wo bo no e fa wo ho ben na wo so te bi wo mu wo ba bi wo wo bia no e fa wo so ho ben ti na che se ade we de se yetimi ye den eyi ano kame aye se ebinum nim se omo te ase no omo na omo wo akwanya. In fact ebim kra free so omo na heaven key no ekita omo. This question is important. The person wants to know if awakening impacts our ancestors. That's the question. Does that mean her ancestors didn't get a chance to reincarnate and their souls are trapped? And no, na person yehu. Na se omo anya chance and reincarnate no mu souls are trapped da. Ono no awote ha no. Owodwuma bi di ana. In fact, se ne ancestor ni so mpo onye trapped na se wa ascend a. Ono a ote abra asate asefo asase so no. Na braba all bono ana no ne experience no e wo impact bi mane nana na wa ye trapped ana so se de nana na wa ascend na na we yasem kese yesese etumi hwe ni. First, let's answer this question by an analogy before we enter anything etheric. Nti wo de monto mobo ne hwe we say I call this analogy the parable of the trapped son. We na me pese ye di kan hwe no obi antie ne ye no obi anso ma me nadwene na afi ye wi a ye nkomu ne ye nhwe na afi wonte ase mu entumi nda ho se wo kofre wo na na bi se wabraba a wo bɔ no impact no se ba bi owo bia no so no wabraba a wo bɔ no beboa na kɔ ana se de ne beba back wo na wo ma ye trapping no ana so sesen eno na mpese ye hwe. The parable of the trapped son is about a man, his wife and his children on the way to the shrine. Tieniye we mebusem anakasa kwa. They are dressed in nice beautiful white dresses. Omo kwa sorry omo kwa busum so name them. Then one of the sons falls into a gutter and gets his leg trapped inside a big gutter, finding it difficult to come out. I want you to give yourself this picture. What I mean project asem we ya me kan ewo wani so ana ewo wadwene mu. As the father, mother or other siblings, what will you do? Opentamo drive ya kuku pentama ko na wanya accident. Na car no asesi wo be den. Wo beja wo ba ne ho na wako shrine na whatever. Ana aso se wo be den. E de na mo be ye. A question. The man realizes that even though he is running late to the shrine, he can't leave his son in the gutter. He risks his beautiful white shirt from being stained in the gutter, but he can't abandon his only son in the gutter because oshe baby aneba na akotomu ni baby a wo phone kura atomu a minji ni se wo beja phone wo gutter ni mu akọ baby a wo kọ wo ba. Ena phone so sebe se oba no kura mpo se public loo mu na wato a unja ne ho se watade e hye emfa ho ni shoe a wo hye emfa ho ni design a wo hye asese China fo ya ye ne chakai still wo besi gata ni mu na wakọ akofa oba no ananka obeja oba no ho akọ we ye question. It is an abomination to appear in the presence of the town's powerful gods in the shrine in dirty clothes. Won to me fata the fi emfa nkokoro mu ho bosom no ano. In fact, won to me fa de a bibi kura kam emfa nkoho nti ube na aka gata emuja no wokọ enyeje usi musu koyi na atare no so a so usi mu pa utumi yi no na watade no so anye stain no so ya another problem. There is small risk of him getting his leg into getting trapped inside the same gutter if he attempts to rescue his son. But he can't abandon his son in the gutter. Eniama ni bi wo ho ebeto ye nyana ye ade ni bebrebe asem bebre ato nkrofo a anka de na nkomo betumi tibia na omu wo mu ne ne omu fam na nkomo betumi a walk away. But ade ba ko bi na atwi ugina ba bia ugina no. Enti asem we se ye wasem a anka wo be ye ne den asem we ebehini wo ahan wo sem wo ko ba bi na asem we asi na wo ba na aka ga ata ni mu na hwe circumstances are surrounding the whole thing no wo so kra se wo koyi wo ba na wonim me wo ho se wo so be kam ana wo so be ko wanim no eno so ya de foforo picture all these things no na ye nto aso. It seems the child in the gutter is trapped with the family because they will have to stay and help him out. Enyo omo no mato gutter ni mu ba nipa ba ko a wato gutter no nti the entire family ni na omo aka ho cause why na eja hwan ho akọ. Although they are not directly inside the gutter with him, omo nko share gutter ni mu so omo nyina aka. Nti me pese wo calculate asem we with wo generation kura enyam baaye. na afi wo de atoto wo nana no mo ewu kɔ no so ho na afi mi wi a mabisa wo question no wayi ma no asem we nka obey ne den. Even though the family is clean and free, one son has caused all of them to be entrapped. Enyo omo no omo atomo nso ba ko a watom ntinti no sesi omo ina they stand a potential risk of being trapped together in the gutter with him because the papa de tom no so kotomu a okoka there's a possibility say another person will also try one hwa no omo ina akọ so omo ina mpo so nkọ ya ba ko a watom nti omo ina agina ho omo ntumi nkọ whether they succeed in rescuing him or not no omo ina are trapped nso nipa ba ko pe na hye gutter nim. If you saw a picture, they will not calculate saying na who feel say who dream saying na who fast sama make catch we. After rescuing the son, they all made it home safely to prepare for another day to visit the shrine. Enti omo nyina wasting all the time, all the effort bibia omo atade ye fi o say ye de no. Omo enya anko shrine bi omo nyina asan akofie asumdue mu. On the next fateful day, the man called his son and the other family and cautioned them to be careful of the gutter. What is the gutter? So, they would stay safe from being trapped inside the gutter again. Because the nipa ba ko ya obia beka gutter nimu. Enti se see papa no wa ma ne mma ni nyina warning. Say mo kwa monye careful with the gutter because onipa ba akoto ma ye nyina ye wie ade we no e wo bible mu o say dia wagye me no wagye me ni me fie nyina ye kasa asem we ya ye te ase ye tra te say ye nkwagye bi se wo ye nipa ba akokofa animgu ase ye ba fie ho a e ka abusua ni nyina saa na nipa ba akoto kofa anuonyam hye ba fie ho a eno so eka abusuani na eno ye just by the way. The father tells the son, my son, I love you, but I want you to be careful and avoid the gutter. Said the woman ye trapped. Because when you avoid the trap, you have saved all of us the risk of being trapped inside the gutter. Asem wo te ase say, nso me kan enyo mu ina na kwose gata no mu die nanso wahu asem a papa yi e ka kire ne be mpese wutie we ye kasako a na asa bebusem na me ka kire wo no. And the son asked the father, beloved father, does it mean you are already trapped? Wahu asem a obisa ne papa. And the father said, no son, I am not trapped until you get trapped. I want you yourself to calculate this whole story I'm telling you. This is the end of my parable of the trapped son. What do you make out of it? Write it in the comment section. Why, Minia? What do you, no calculate assembly na idea na me pa ka kire o. Mi bisaw. Idea na me pa ka kire o. Se wote sa asem we ase a wo be hu how important our life wo ti asase so no etiye. Na when say won ko trape wo ho ana won ko togata bim because it will cause the entire generation. Yet asem we asem the moment fa we nsi wona afa yen hwe ne yen fa some of these books you people believe no yen fa ntoto ho na afa yen hwe se sebe esese ye tin nsem ana ye hu bibi a ye fa ne trase ye se ye spirituality pa na se wo so wo be pursue spirituality a Who say it's not for you alone. The reason you go and kneel before any other thing na waha won crofo bi bebrebe. But let's get into this and see how this whole thing means. But your explanation, your understanding will help. Into chiro wo hono ni yenhwe. We ye nua ba akon akuafin. Ne question and amafa and a me ya no me di to screen so ntia me say ye nyina ye hu ye mu betumi di atoso once again na omo hu no so na omo ahwe because a question na ye yi ano wo hwe Maame Grace stake na ye discuss parable of the trapped son abusia enti ye nua ba akuafin ne comment na ne question no e na ye yi ano no na masan throw di ato screen so biomu e di ama wa hu no betumi e read biom. Enti question we ni ye try say e be yi ano amama mo parable tintintin obi anya ne calculation obi antro ne mind mun focus wo episode no so na mo ntro mo mind na efe mo ntro mo questions no ngum na yenhwe. In fact, after finishing this parable, I have decided to develop it into a small book for children. May any book eketwa de amankwala and supply it for free to all schools. School be omo pe bia de bi bekwa akomo mo wo ho. That will be a start for my upcoming school. And I want you all to support me with your energy and meditation. Dia obeye bia ya kai me ewom. I need more energy because the work is too big. It's very huge, like a huge. Me name said I met describing, but person me say esu. It will be the biggest thing that has ever happened to Africa. Into no ye hear more light, more energy, bibia, obia and the vibrations in the frequency, entire chire na into me enye ye ema ye nyina. Now, let's look at the meaning of the parable of the trapped son. Asamna meka ye ni nyina no whatever you've made out of it no ma ye nyina ye wura mu together na afi ye nhwe. The parable goes on to answer the question of the viewer Equiafin, asking if she is to be awakened to liberate his ancestors. Does that mean that the soul of her ancestors are trapped or didn't reincarnate? Where your question na super. And also na Equiafin ebisantina I couldn't ignore it na say me to me be here no. Many of us are too self-aware in the flesh and feel that we are the ones who are the key to heaven, especially yenuanom eyifwe. But in an actual sense, we must wake up for our good and that of those who may have to jump into the chaos to help us. Because obatan bi anyone no ma sebe ne ba e social, no matter how bad your child is no or kon social mu a wonso ubeko bi obi abrabo wo hu abeye style bi because of emwa bi a odema obi. This is why me wo problem say obi e ungrateful when it comes to help. Eye me yapa because say ya ma help anye important na anye joyous for people to help us. Yebe koso aba from because yebe si ni papa kwan because emwa bi a obi de ma obi ene ekwan a onipa ne de ne fa aso nti oni papa momu a so onipa ne boa na obe appreciate no boa na kora biom. One thing na ye say ya ye ndwen ho eno no ungratefulness a very serious thing. Say yan correct sa error na wo ye ho no so obi boa yen a yen appreciate ye nya du soro ho na de onipa ne ye ma ye kora yen kai no emboa emma enyini entumi mba nipa bebre abrabo asesa awarefo bi ekunu bi no mo eyire bi no mo enafofo bi no mo enuanom bi no obi aboa obi ema nada ne exchange nti so obi boa o na se wan appreciate a den papa nti one thing I hate in life is ungratefulness. I don't like it. Your ancestors need you to wake up. Ti ase nti aha na wo wana wo frefre omo no. Se when commotion a wo cause, confusion a wo cause, chaos a wo cause. Not necessarily because they are trapped or you will be the one to rescue them. Enye ne sa ho. Enye se bi a wo na na ye trapped anaso se wa ascend anaso so say wo ne ye a wo be ye no affect you obia nti wa wo hwe wo ho a ade a wo mu ne ku a wo ku akokokola gu ne so ku odwan gu ne so so amoja gu ne so wada no na vampire una no te ase no moja asem we de okoka po obenya asem nti it's not about so obia ye trapped and obia ascend na enye se wo na wo be rescue omo no. Nemom no said the ade ne tini nyina no so what story na said na what ase but let's get deeper and see. Enti say wo na wo be den na wo be rescue omo nya sa na but because they are part of you makasa ade we multiple times and you are part of them. Enti she family na omo gina ho no say wahu nipa ba ko gata mu otoye. They can't ascend beyond without you and therefore need you to make an awakening program so that gene can advance. What am I say? What am I say? Say wo free obi aba, so reincarnate, say wa ascend, wa bra wo body influence yom. nti omo nko frɛ omo no wa bra bonu mpo influence omo na wo de wasan so frɛ omo so kra de aka ho ti wo ye papa na wo ye bone eye wo se wo na wo be rescue omo wo de ma ye hwɛ bibi wo Bible mu wa ha John chapter 3 verse 16 incarnation ye hwɛ we say in the Bible the symbolic analogy of how ancestors of higher ascension would descend to a lower plane for the purpose of attachment. Asem we meka bi kire me ma no na omu nyina omu anim asesa. Meka kire omu se me do omu. Pa but there is nothing like attachment between me and omu. Na omu nyina ehwe manim style bi se me pa kire se. Eniama ba ko etumi rolling nipa e de back e de far reincarnation channel ni mu no eye enticement or attachment. Nti sa enticement no ye de trappe ahonhom no e de ba asase we so and attachment no so ye one of the major keys a omo de reincarnate nipa e ba back to this death realm. And no maybe one day we can talk about it. Moma enhwe bibi wo John chapter 3 verse 16, the famous Bible verse. And I read, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. Jesus was God, according to you. Ena usane ba from ebefa akwate bia de to ne ho so, edebeji nipa nkwa. What do you make out of this and everything I read to you? Because if God himself can turn himself into a slave to come and save his people, then how much you can lower your ancestor be power ascending. Nti wo sha wo wabra bono. Eye wo nko awo de ane aha wuti ya na question. I know when many of you hear this verse, then you get emotional for Jesus and Mary. Well, they are not your ancestors in any way. Like you are not Italian. You unye Greek. Like you don't have anything to do with them. But the main thing, na as I say to me translate mawo, ema wote asiye no. Untumi nti asiye. For God so loved the world as he gave his only begotten son. Whoever believes in him will not perish. Or be saved. Ni panti se na Yesu ascended na still mpo say Yesu obesan yaba. Inti because of the amoye na sorry ho nti na mo be ma papa ya reduce ya reincarnate just so that he will get you guys out of that gutter. Na mutimu no. Inti wo a wo hwe me no. Obi a onkotwa moja na onko frefre ni mpo no hwe de yeko. Na bra bompo influence. Na wo de we reduce wo to nothing. Na wo san so frefre no e san di fisu gu ne so ka ho. Wo sha, where do you stand? Asem we emuda ho ma ye nyina na. It was the wisdom in that verse answers the question of whether your ancestors are ascending masters or not, and how an ascended ancestor can help you achieve your awakening. Even the wire ascended in wunti obesi form. So you see how your awakening can influence entire generation and how important it is and how bad yes, we be trap you in anything gata. John 3:16 is a heads up that many of your ancestors who have ascended to higher realms are forced by attachment to descend to this lower plane. Usuban no wabra ba wo mu no, wo na wo power reincarnation. Take many forms of humility in an attempt to help you out of the gutter. Are you trapped? You feel your ancestor is trapped. You are rather trapping them the more. Because Jesus by these things you coded in the Bible. Jesus by we are saying according to Bible no owu ye no nyane ye no osan called the graveyard ekus lucy ne ancestors no wo ho. All this is talking about consciousness. The entire one sheni ya wo ascended ancestor ebesan ya ba because of sebe o gullibility. koto bibia dane bibia nti ye wo se wo mom na wo koboa na ama na asende ye wo mom na wo ma na ye trapped a reincarnate ana to se wo na wo boa na ama na ko ba bi obeto aso eden ne ye ho papa ana ye di ye ho awu wo ma na so mu kora ndwo no na nda wo kofre wo na wo kofre wo di wo kofre wo di whatever wo na na ye wrong ni wherever owo no wo na wo ye nani da so obe ma ne musu akwa na meka no Jesus oba ye no wie di oye no na call graveyard ko setting crofo so free who yourself. Jesus represent consciousness. The whole Bible is talking about consciousness, but because it takes a lot of ability to decode the Bible, no, and food is sweet and free money to when you are eating free money you become lazy. Ain't you know? They are not putting in a lot of effort to decode the Bible, to understand them. So we are holding consciousness and awakening, but we are joking with it. And so therefore we lack consciousness. And no, and a yard I yet who say, I say, oh, ba. Now we oye bibia okay, wo de ade hye ne nsa wo work whoever, wo yere, wo kunu, wo de ade hye ne nsa no oye bibia okay a. Adenti na de bia wo check it up on unim say de we me de ama akola we that's it won check it up on na wo aye de opportunity ekita wa ha na wontumi no wo na de bia wo frɛ wo maame wo frɛ wo nana wo wukura wo frɛ no wo depend wo maame so because you cannot make life. Is that what you are saying? Is that why you are calling your ancestors? What are you calling them for? John 3:16 is an indication that the only trap for your soul is the physical and etheric planes of the physical 3D world. But what I say, Wahamami, we are very easy. The moment you are born into physicality, you have entered the gutter. So what I say, like the parable of the trapped son. If you can't help yourself and you keep reincarnating in the endless cycle, your ascended masters will be born to attempt to show you the way. Is this what you wish for your ancestors? You are here to free yourself from the trap and go, so your people will follow. Those coming and those who are gone will stay there peacefully, and you, what are you doing here? Abrabona wo bonumpo nti ase wo sanso frefre omanajo sanso wa na unim nia wo ye. You want to drag your entire generation, your ancestors into the gutter. Now why you trapped woman no? Does this make sense? Nti Jesus a oye nyame ebeba be fa akwate bia to because we see gutter nim. No matter na tade, no matter ni position, ne ba to gutter nim nti obesi nti na Jesus ba ye ebe fa akwate bia to no ho so asem na mo kan na ase kire no no. Enti mo ankasa no a muti wokra mo se mo twen Jesus chese mo ankasa mo ade atum se mo te gata nim like you have nothing to do with consciousness. Whilst you are holding the Bible that has many codes of consciousness than any other book. When I am mo kan, nobody hates anybody. Nti no, this is it. Nti mo se mo nje reincarnation di mu wa mo ko heaven. Ba mo gidi so say Yesu wewu ko or san ya ba befa wo. Nti why are you confused? Wuna wobema Yesu asan aba because you refuse to be conscious and you refuse to awake. Until no gina ho twen wo da so where you trapped e wo gata no mu twen na Jesus aba no wa be you no so abaye ne hu fi nti de bi obeba akwate bia no mka. This Bible is very funny. No, I catch yourself. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. For God so loved the family. Na oja ne baba ne san ba kon wato ga atamu nti osan bai na o madan me say Bible de me nya chance mesan atworo ne biom me na am catch ro me tworo ne biom ma sesa niama wo papa because e ya adwen ne ho adwuma. The entrapment in the etheric realm, popularly called hell or the gate of the fallen Elohims. Yaye we episode we dada. It's another place on the 3D etheric where you can be trapped. Adwini ni mu esoro ho, you're having esoro ho no mu. Most of your ascended masters have had to descend into the gate of the Elohims to go and rescue their children, just like your Jesus came to do, and you are still so wicked and bad that everything they've left for you, you don't want to awake. You are still sitting in the gutter waiting for him to reincarnate, to reduce your ascended ancestor to come and save you. And trust me, Italian ancestor is not coming to save African to forget, Maka, this was also portrayed in the Bible, and I have done an editorial on it called Jesus versus the Descent of Hell. You can Google it and also watch it after this episode. Me say your episode change platform biya. Me na me come chiro. Opa, ubetumi ewu ada platform no so 5 years. Ubetumi a share episode 5 years ensa. Me na me come chiro. I've done an editorial about that called Jesus versus the Descent of Hell. Let's look at it from the Bible. Now I'm say 1 Colossians chapter 2 verse 15. And I read, despoiling the principalities and powers, he hath exposed them confidently. And I will say, and then Tokwasi wo heaven. And a bronsam any Jesus blows na zuma begina homa Jesus and a bakuno of Fikulo bakuno zunijina homa bronsam na omu boy na omu pushy bakuna obeshe hatu no say as for mundi we ni asem you. This describes how Jesus overpowered the condemned angels who are the demons of hell. This has nothing to do with a Hollywood movie of war or a battle of demons. And yes, it points to your level of ascension and the ability of your ascended ancestors to go into the lowest part of Bibia. So, when we condition our nipetum, me see me ancestors in that. I will bring some mutu more baby. No, I'm catching some Maame Grace. Yes, I'm catching on microphone. My and say, "Yenzo, I do a more any empeo." Yes, no more than yes, from no more reduce it to nothing. When they say we will talk about reincarnation, it's huge. Then people embrace it as if say a Grammys. There will ye be as a 1 year will near me ya. What do about the lowest etheric realm? Bonnie, I will bet to me the ancestors in into the gate of the fallen Elohims, into one casa wabra bona water yame. Me say ahano this gata we muna wo. So 1 year careful and far foot to na papa ne de man e the whole generation, you alone can cause all of them. So mo be reincarnate no mo nyina asanya back to this place. Is that what you wish? Is that what you want? Opesa odi omo nyina back into the gate of the fallen Elohims or hell to show you the wisdom to ascend and awaken. Is this what you want, Ebusuya? It's waking before you die. What? Don't be that Sam. Obey yet trapped. No one wasting entire generation, you know. Or more ascension. Oh, God, me think deep. Think deep about what I just said. Think deep about these things. Abusuya, we na mene wo share nti di obi sa question no. Akuya fin. The question na obi sa ye no. Eno answer na mama me say read questions no so mama na mu hu asa wa so be read ya. Na we read no one question na obi sa say this is how important you are. I say Maame Grace, I have a question. Please, if I'm supposed to awaken and liberate my ancestors, does this mean my ancestors didn't get a chance to reincarnate and their souls are trapped? You will be responsible for this. Una be mo soul are trapped. Una be mo reincarnating no matter how high your ancestor no wa ascending no. Una obetumi amanda sign esi form. Abusuya, dwen hu kwa akire. Why? Aha, na me do be si shalom. Makra wate.